Hello friends, welcome. This is the first video ever of this channel, my sports channel. So consider yourselves lucky guys, because this is the start of something great. Now I just want to make a quick introduction. I know this is the first video of a completely new channel, but I have been doing predictions, financial predictions. I can cover cryptocurrencies, I cover stocks, and I have also been covering sports for myself, predictions for myself. And when I realized that these predictions that I have, which by the way, my financial predictions are extremely accurate, well, the same thing applies to my sports predictions. Now I can basically predict any kind of sport, even the hardest sport ever to predict, because we're talking about soccer, football. This sport is very difficult because you can see that there's a lot of ties or draws, as some people might call them. So somewhere around 30% of all matches end up in draws or ties. This is in soccer, guys. This is basically unheard of in American football or baseball or basketball or whatever, right? So when I realized and I completely dominated these predictions, then I thought that it would be a very nice thing to share with you guys, just like I share my financial predictions. But anyways, we'll be covering 8 games from 2 different sports. We'll be covering football first, football, soccer, and then we'll be covering American football later. Okay, so the first match that we have is the Everton versus Fulham. Now, these both teams have been, they're kind of basically on the same kind of quality regarding these games. Everton actually looks quite kind of worse than Fulham. However, Everton has been doing very great as of late, like the last 5 games, completely way better than just Fulham. Okay, so my prediction for this game is that Everton is going to win. Now, you'll have to excuse this presentation right here, but this is basically my book, my sports book, my prediction book. So yeah, it's very archaic, it's very abstract, you might say. So you'll have to excuse this, but this will only improve with time, right? And we only care about this because I want to basically provide you proof that my predictions are very accurate, and I will not be altering any of these lists until we get all the results, and then I will update them. And by updating them, I mean that each and every single highlighted result will be covered either in red or green, or in the case of football, if it's a draw, it will stay in yellow. But yeah, just like I was saying, Everton-Fulham, my pick is that Everton is going to win the game. Okay, so now let's cover the next game, which is Barcelona versus Real Madrid. So very popular teams, guys. They're basically the kings of all football soccer teams. Very, very popular. If you don't know anything about football soccer, well, you just basically by knowing both of these 2 teams, you already know most of the fan base. But anyways, this one is a classic, guys. This one is a classic. You can see that both teams are very, very equal in quality as of the last 6 games, as 5 games, something like that. Barcelona is a little bit better because they didn't have a tie like Real Madrid had. That was a very recent tie versus Atletico Madrid. I also predicted this for myself and did got the tie indeed. But like I was saying, predicting ties is kind of hard because I can basically tell you what games are going to be most likely to be ties, but ties is, just we're dealing with a third variable, so it's kind of hard. But anyways, my pick for this match is going to be Real Madrid, just like you just saw in the last my list. Real Madrid is going to win. Okay, now let's cover the next game, which is Vitória Fluminense. Yeah. Okay, the Vitória Fluminense. Both of these are Brazilian teams, Serie A. So again, football soccer, we're talking about football soccer, right? Okay, so let's look at the stats for the team. So, okay, right here we can see that Vitoria, which is the local, will be playing on a much lower quality than Fluminense. Although Fluminense has had 2 losses, Vitoria only has 1 loss, and they have a draw. But my pick right here is that Fluminense is going to win, clearly for me. Clearly is going to win. So yeah, guys, Fluminense is going to win versus Vitoria. Okay, the next game we're going to be covering the Mexican League. It's going to be Cruz Azul versus Pumas. So yeah, Cruz Azul versus Pumas. So again, this is kind of easy actually, because if you actually look at this, you can see that Cruz Azul is just going way better than Pumas. It's basically undefeated streak. Pumas had, even though they had no losses for the last 5 games, they did have ties, so that kind of shows the weakness of this team. So for this game, I think even though Pumas is playing local on the home, Cruz Azul is actually going to win. Yeah, that's my pick for that game. So the next game, now we're finally covering American football. So let's see what the Commanders versus the Bears have. So both teams are okay. They are basically kind of similar. Commanders looks a little bit better considering only the last 5 games. The Bears have 2 losses and 3 consecutive wins. And Washington, the Commanders, they really have a hard time trying to nail consecutive wins. They did have 4 consecutive wins, but this came only after kind of intermediate losses between these streaks. So yeah, just like you saw, my prediction for that game is that the Bears are going to win. Actually, let's look at the odds. Well, the odds are way too... the odds clearly favor the Commanders, but you guys know my predictions are very accurate, and this is the first video, so this will be the first time that you will see my accuracy in action. So yeah, I predict that the Bears will win the game. Now let's look at the Seahawks. So yeah, once again, the Seahawks versus Buffalo. This is American football. Let's look at the stats for both teams. So both teams are kind of similar, not really that good for both. The last 5 games, Bills looks better than the Seahawks. The Seahawks have been actually doing not that good when you take these 5 games into account. So basically 3 losses against 2 losses for the Bills. And the Bills so far have 2 consecutive wins. So just like you saw in my list, I have the Bills as my pick. They will win the game, and actually the odds are favoring the Seahawks. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Now the next game is the Texans. So Colts versus Texans. Let's look at the stats. We can see right away that in the last 5 games they are very similar, but the Colts are better. Now, one thing that the Texans have going on for them is that they did have 3 consecutive wins on the last 5 games. This has not been achieved by the Colts, but this time will actually be the time that the Colts will have 3 consecutive wins for the last 5 games. So yeah, just look at the odds. Now the odds clearly now favor my prediction. I have the Colts winning. So yeah, the Colts will win that game. Forgive me, guys. I thought that was a mistake. No, my pick is that the Texans will win. Yeah, kind of forget my list right here. The Texans will win the game. The odds are not favoring the Texans, they are favoring the Colts. So yeah, basically everything that you said, just take it as a reverse or whatever. Just completely ignore that, and yeah, the Texans are going to win. They do actually look not that good. I mean, this is just a fact. But even though the Texans have 2 losses in their last 5 games, and the Colts only have 1, my pick is really the Texans. They will a cheap victory against the Colts. And finally, the last game, which is the Ravens. The Ravens versus the Browns. Okay, so let's look at the stats. Well, the Browns are just completely. I mean, look at this. Consecutive losses, everything. 5 consecutive losses, and Ravens have 5 consecutive wins. So yeah, it's very easy, very clear to see who's going to win. The odds, for some reason, are favoring the Browns. I think that's actually the how you can read the odds, right, guys? I mean, because I've never do this sports betting, whatever. This is actually my first time that I have been doing this, and I really don't pay attention to the odds. I just follow my prediction. But yeah, I think these odds are favoring those teams, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be actually making a fool out of myself right here. But yeah, my pick is that the Ravens are going to win. Definitely. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. 8 games, 2 different sports. Let's see how it plays out. My next video will be next week, and by then I will be updating this, and you can see my accuracy and how all of these games fare comparing to my list, comparing to the odds, and comparing to the stats that I just showed you. But yeah, that's all for today, and until next time, take care.